Well, we're here at 0-3. It's the same thing I said after the game. You know, we're down to the last drive again. We've got to push it over the top somehow. You know, whether it's us getting points on the board or getting a stop or whatever the case may be, we need to do that. Obviously, the big plays killed us in terms of letting Washington State put up enough points to beat us. You know, defensively, there's a couple of things that stick out to me. One is I think we're near the top 10 in the country in third down defense. Where are we at? 12? Or are we better than that? Anyway, third down defense, we're statistically pretty good. We've also gotten to the quarterback 7 times and sacked him. Last year we had 14 on the season, so I think we're doing some things better, both in terms of making the quarterback hold the ball so we can get there and then winning up front. So, you know, we're getting closer. We're playing a little defense. I would say offensively last weekend we left a few too many plays out there. There were opportunities to get a little bit more, which is what we needed. And, you know, again, we're 0-3. We don't want to be there. That's where we are, and we need a great week. And we're playing an Air Force team that UNLV's not beat in a while. I don't know when that was. That'd be a good question for Mark. They're a senior-oriented veteran football team. They won't make mistakes. They had a nice outing against Idaho State to open, and then a good performance at Michigan. Again, they look like a veteran, well-drilled football team. Offensively, the quarterback's good. I believe he's back for a 5th year, which is unusual at the academy. And they're bigger than I remember them being, you know, just in terms of stature up front on offense. The tackles are big, tall guys, which I just don't recall them having in the past. And they look like they've got all the parts working on offense. And defensively, we've got to prepare for well, they've got every zone blitz known to mankind, so we've got to prepare to that and get targeted and handle that.
Obviously, it's a tough offense to defend, but do you think maybe you match up better against this offense than Washington State's?
Oh, gosh, you know, that's a good question. That would be me, you know, trying to look into the crystal ball a little bit. We'll get to see Saturday. But I think that we match up better with Air Force than we have in the past. I think we've got potential to perform better than we have. You know, obviously 2 years ago here we played okay against them. Last year they got after us pretty good. But I think we've got, if we go out and play our best game of the year, we'll have a chance to put a few speed bumps up.
You mentioned playing them here. You've had most of your successes come here against them in the past. Does that help going into this game, you think?
You know, it's just kind of a weird schedule playing this many weeks in a row at home. But I'm big on it. Doesn't matter. You know, the field's the same, so we got to go play. I wish they didn't have 53 yards to run wide. We'd have a better chance if it was 20 yards wide. They stretch it out and find air. They just do. That's what they're good at it.
We talked a little bit last week about just the difference of preparing for like a Washington State offense to Air Force. I mean, it really does it get much different than that when you go week to week?
No, I think that's probably about as diverse as you get. You know, you go from Washington State or what Hawaii formerly was with the run and shoot stuff to playing an option-based attack that's about opposite ends of the spectrum.
And Alex, if you could just comment on that a little bit, and the work that you have to put in, focusing on getting to the quarterback before they can, you know, get it to the receivers, and now trying to defend a triple option. And it's just a lot. It's a lot different to try and go through in 2 weeks, right?
Yeah, but we've been doing this for a while now, so it won't be too bad because we've already planned for Air Force many times before, you know. So just continuing, getting better every week. That's the goal.
What do you think is the most difficult thing against defending a triple option?
Just getting used to the speed that they play is the biggest problem.
Is that true for, you think, any team or specifically Air Forces?
Specifically Air Forces with the triple option, wing T.
That's, I'm sorry, that's exactly right. You can't simulate their speed. If you watch week in, week out, the first couple drives of the game, every defense they play is trying to catch up to the speed. It's your scout team tries. You do all kinds of different things to try to make it faster. It's hard. So, sorry, Mark.
That's all right. No, I was going to ask you, is this an offense you kind of prepare for bits and pieces at a time maybe this week?
We've spent time a little bit in the off season. You have to. If you don't, you just don't. There aren't enough days. You know, our first year here, we we played them on a Thursday night game, which was even more difficult. So we spent a period a day for a week during fall camp on them that year, just to hope. And it was in November. I don't know if our guys had much recall on it or not, but we did it. So you have to spend a little time on this offense. Other times a year.
And talking about the speed, so is the speed that Air Force runs it at different than the way a lot of other triple option teams?
No, it's just in
that?
general, yeah.
Okay.
You know, whether it's Army or Air Force or Navy or whomever. You know, Cal Poly.
You always,
Ask Wyoming, Cal Poly.
you always hear about the cut blocks. How tough is that to get prepared for?
Well, we'll do it this week with our scout team in practice. You know, the cutting, they're good at it. We don't do it a lot in practice just because there's safety issues and we've got to get out of our weekly practices. But we have to do it this week.
How much of a tough transition is it going from Washington State to Air Force, especially in a week's time considering?
Well, generally you only get a week, so it is what it is. We're just like everybody else that has to play these guys. You know, there's not a, if we, for instance, had we played Minnesota last week, there wouldn't have been much. There wouldn't have been much carryover from Minnesota either. Maybe a little bit, but you know, it's a hard week. It is.
You know, the knock on Dietz coming in for Jefferson was he wasn't as good a thrower, but I see he's completing like 60% of his passes.
Yeah, I guess that was erroneous.
Yeah. They've had 2 weeks to prepare after the big Michigan loss. How big advantage is that for them, or is it this early?
You know, I'd be interested to know what they worked on last week. You know, was it us or was it something else? I don't know. You know, the guys at the academy, I mean, the football part of their day is their recreation. I think they enjoy it, so they probably had good work last week.
Mostly they were working on academics.
Yeah, they might have been working on some chemistry or some engineering too.
Yusef, what have you seen progression-wise from Nick? You know, week one to what he looked like last Saturday.
I think Nick has progressed just fine. You know, like I said earlier, I think the first press conference he's going to go through some growing pains, and I just think he's come along. You know, he's more confident in the huddle. He's making good throws. I mean, I think he completed like 33 passes or something like that, which is really good. 67%, I think I saw. So, I think Nick's coming along just fine. I think a lot of the guys have faith in him, and I'm really just proud of him. He's doing his thing.
I don't know if this is something you can see, probably not while the play is going, but it looks like he's kind of become more comfortable in the pocket and he's kind of making sidestep type of stuff, avoiding rushers.
Yeah, I think that comes with, you know, just getting some experience. You know, he's just getting his feel back there. He's getting comfortable. I think we're doing a better job giving him some time so he can get to the open receiver. He's coming along just nicely, I think.
I'm sorry. I was going to ask how he's in the huddle, and if you notice, is he growing in the huddle too?
I mean, he was never bad. I mean, but like I said, I think he's just getting more comfortable. You know, all the guys have a lot of faith in him, and we think he's putting us in the right direction. He's taking us to the right place.
What did you think of Scoggins' performance after, you know, kind of being thrown out there?
It's funny because I was telling him it's funny how, like, when something drastic like that happens, it's always kind of like on a big stage for some reason, like his first game starting on ESPN. But, you know, all the guys just had his back. We just told him you're going to have to go weather the storm, you know, just be comfortable, be calm. And he's a good player, you know, he's big, he's strong, he's physical. So we weren't worried about him. We just wanted to let him know that we had his back. I'm proud of him. He did a really good job. First game.
And Bobby talked a little bit earlier about all the zone blitzes that Air Force has. You know, how difficult is that to kind of prepare for this week, or what are you guys gonna have to do differently?
Well, Coach Germer, our offensive line coach, does a really good job as far as getting us locked in. Covering everything, every last inch. So I'm pretty sure we're just gonna do what we always do. We're gonna have our walkthroughs before practice, go over the different blitzes, the different looks they give us, and we'll be prepared for it. We've seen, this will be my third time playing Air Force. I actually enjoy playing Air Force. I love playing against those guys. It's always a competitive game, but we'll be ready. Be ready.
What's the latest on Boyko?
We're hoping to have him. I haven't seen him yet this morning. He was in yesterday and moving around, so we hope to have him. Obviously, when you have a guy that's played a little more, it'd help. So that's probably going to be a late week decision. If we played today, he couldn't go. So.
Were you thinking of redshirting Scoggins before that?
It was a topic of discussion. We felt like we needed to have him ready. Felt like he was our next best interior guy. So when that opportunity came, it was an easy decision. We actually talked about playing him some the first 2 games, but really we're going to try to do with him what we did with Rob Waterman and Boyko, where we had him ready but didn't play him.
Alex, you faced the Air Force in the past. Can you just take us into the mind of a defensive guy facing that offense? Kind of what is it? Just like you got to be disciplined to the max? Is it a lot of chaos? What is it like? Just take us.
Yeah, it's just you have to be very disciplined. Like I said earlier, get used to the speed that they do play in, but you can't show that in practice with the scout team. But mostly, when it comes down to it, it's just like every other game. You have one gap. That's your gap. You have to hold it and make sure no one runs through it. It's not too complicated.
And yet it's so hard to stop them.
Yeah. Well, they're very efficient at what they do. They're very disciplined, and they've been running that offense for a long time now.
Is it because you're trying to help somebody else? You're trying to overcompensate for somebody else that they have success?
Yeah, and again, there's their speed that they play at. It takes a while to get used to that speed during the game.
You said, how about you?
Well, as far as
Just discipline when you're facing that team.
yeah, Air Force. Like I said, I really enjoy playing against Air Force because it's going to be like a knockdown, drag out fight. Those guys, what they lack in size, what they got in heart, and they're very disciplined. I'm sure they're coached very well. It's every time you're playing Air Force, it's going to be a tough game. So I got respect for those guys, but we're going to be ready.
So one advantage you might have is just the speed that you have, the linebackers. Is that obviously not a big plotty and slow guy? Is that an advantage that you would have going in?
I think Air Force runs pretty well. I think they move around. They're pretty athletic. If you look at their offensive, I think different than most offensive lines we play. They're generally year in, year out a little smaller but more athletic. They have the ability to get on field. You look at their center, their fullback, their backside linemen on their plays, they're downfield blocking safeties. It's pretty fun to watch on film. It's not quite as much fun to play against. But they're pretty athletic. They don't lack running ability.
I always hear the comment that they're from the military school, they're real smart, hardly ever make mistakes. Is that true, or is this
I think it's more whether they're experienced or not. As I said, they're a pretty experienced football team, really, in particular on offense. They know what they're doing. So they're like other college kids that are tuned into what they're doing. They can make mistakes if they see something they haven't seen before when they're younger. They're like other college kids, but as these guys have said, they've been doing the same thing for a long time. And when they're guys that have played in that system for 4 years, like many of these kids have, they don't make that many errors, no.
Caleb, he's been splitting 2 positions, and I guess it's probably going to be the case going forward because you're back at quarterback. How difficult is it to try to especially with a remaining position like quarterback to try to stand off that?
That's obviously not ideal, but he's bright enough to be able to handle it. He has good understanding of what we're trying to get done, and I think he stays tuned into the quarterback stuff. He takes the 2 reps and meets with the quarterbacks. Where we're missing time is practicing wide receiver type skills, but he obviously exhibited some of that the other night and has done a decent job of working at that. I wouldn't say he's refined, but he's working at it.
I remember the final scrimmage in Ely, he got that long touchdown. Was that kind of the eye-opener moment for you guys?
Really, during the summer when we were short a second group or a third group of wide receivers, he brought it to our attention that he had jumped in there some this summer, and the other quarterback said he did a good job, so that's kind of the genesis of that.
You'd have to drive kicking and screaming over receiver.
No, he's a competitor. He just wants to get on the field, and quarterback's hard. You don't roll those guys that much.
Nick was talking last week about how effective it is to have a quarterback who plays receiver and the quarterback's throwing the ball, knows what he's doing. How important do you think that is?
Well, Nick, being the grizzled veteran that he is a great resource for you to speak out on what's effective and what's not. But the quarterbacks need to know what the receivers are doing, certainly. So, they should know where every foot's. Just like he knows where the right guard is placing every one of his feet and where the fullback's fitting, the quarterback ought to know where every wide receiver step is being taken. So it's not that big of a stretch.
Are you concerned at all with Marcus with the drop balls and then spiking the ball before the end zone, not getting called for?
Yeah, obviously there's lots of stuff we have to address. When you're coaching this many young guys, there's a laundry list every Monday, and certainly those 2 things are on it.
Do you see that as lack of focus or concentration this morning?
Either that or excitement and want to. So it's the other. I don't think lack of want to or focus is. I think the lad's excited about being healthy and playing well.
Bobby, what kind of chance do you think there is that Deon's will be back?
None. He's got a lot of stuff at home that he's got to, there are other responsibilities outside of football, and he's just got to go do that. He just has tried to be able to overcome it, and he can't. And we obviously wish him well. He's a good guy, and we hope good things happen for him.
Coach, you mentioned it yesterday. Now you kind of really, this game kind of, and the next 4 are kind of the meat of the schedule. Can you just talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think over the next 5 weeks, we play 5 bowl teams. 3 of those on the road. We certainly aren't looking beyond any given week in this Saturday's game, but over the next 5 weeks, we got 5 bowl teams, and we've got to be up to that, and we've got to find a way to win some games. And starting with Air Force this weekend, we're tired of being close. We got to go.
With the program, is that the biggest challenge? Just the belief in win the post games?
Shoot, I would say the biggest challenge was getting into close games. Mark, the first couple, we were so outmatched in some of these games early on. So, I haven't, honestly, Mark, I have not sensed that. Our guys have not been, they've not given me the impression one time at all in one of these close games that they felt like they were out over their skis. Everybody was pretty tuned in and pretty with it, and I didn't get the sense that everybody was panicked that we might actually win a game. I think everybody's pretty comfortable. We placed our guys in a lot of adverse situations where they've got to fight their way out, and we practiced all these situations we've been in, and I think that I'm hoping and believe that's coming.
You say Don's not coming back, you mean this season? Or
I just don't. He's got so much stuff. He won't be back. Yeah, at all. Yeah. So I had, obviously in the spring, had a hope that he'd be here in the fall, but he just couldn't overcome that stuff, so that's the way it is.
What day did Boyko get hurt? Was it Wednesday or Thursday?
Yeah, Wednesday or Thursday.
It's just.
I don't remember. He just twisted his leg. So I,
Wednesday after the game.
yeah, it was a Wednesday. It must have been a Friday game. I get confused. It was a Thursday practice. So, yeah.
Kind of following up on your answer to Mark here, but for the two players, what do you see as a difference this year? We're going to be in every game, we're going to compete every game. That's what you said last year and the year before, but what do you see as the difference this year? Maybe Alex, go ahead and start.
I think difference is so far just the experience that we've had and the speed we're playing. So far, we still have a lot to improve on. Like, we're nowhere close where we want to be. No one wants to be at 0-3, so we need to just take it week by week and keep getting better as a football team. So.
Yeah, I agree. I think just the experience, we've obviously been trying to build something here for the past 3 years. It's nice to be in these close games, but, obviously the objective is to win. But I think the biggest difference is just the experience and just being ready and prepared and confident every week for the next game.
You ever get impatient, Coach?
Every day. Absolutely. Patience is a virtue, is what my father used to say to me, and it drove me crazy. I didn't have any then. I don't have any now. Neither do these guys, I hope.
Except if you're on a river.
That's right. I don't have much there. I don't have much there either.